Buffett's back, baby, and he's come to save some banks. Potentially. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Leo, and I cover everything value investing related. In today's video, we are talking about Buffett and his potential involvement in this whole banking collapse fiasco. Here's the situation, guys. A lot of these banks that were over leveraged and made terrible investment decisions are now going under. The US White House have reached out to Warren Buffett, legendary investor, and is asking for some help. And this is not the first time that Buffett's been asked. Back in 2008, during the financial crisis that everyone knows and loves, he gave out a $5 billion lifeline to Goldman Sachs. Follow that up in 2011 with Bank of America. He injected a lot of funds, and it's evident in this article here. I'll bring you to that article. So the Biden administration is pursuing unconventional measures to help banks that continue to let down investors. The federal government does not want to directly bail out the banks, which they made clear, and I made a video about that earlier, after the backlash caused by the use of taxpayer money to help the banks in 2008. Yes, they shouldn't use taxpayers' money. That's not for them to use. If the bank's going to fall, the banks are going to fall. Enter Warren Buffett. The White House is currently in contact with the legendary and highly respected investor. Yep, according to Bloomberg News, yes. There have been several conversations between Biden team and the billionaire. Now, this is how I know, and this is how you know things are really bad. No disrespect to Warren Buffett. You have elected officials to try to mitigate this risk, mitigate these problems. Now, granted, he knows how to mitigate risk. He's a phenomenal investor. He's made that clear to the world. This is absolutely horrendous, knowing that the government's taking this unconventional approach. This is not the first time. This is literally the second time they're doing this. 2008 was absolutely horrible. And if they're willing to go down this route again, I'm concerned that we are following a similar path. So what does that mean, folks? That means I think we should potentially brace ourselves. I think Warren Buffett's gotten ahead of the curve, and what I mean by that is if you go to Dataroma, which I'm going to pull up right here, this is the Berkshire Hathaway portfolio, and this is a phenomenal site to go onto if you want to see what the top investors are buying. This is a site that I like to use to try to figure out what are these guys actually doing with their money. And every quarter, they have to report what they've bought and what they sold. The last quarter for Warren Buffett was reported December 31st, 2022. March 31st, it'd be the Q1 of 2023. Here's what I noticed. He sold off stocks in New York Mellon Corp, Ally Financial, US Bank Corp. Warren Buffett loves bank stocks. He's made that clear in multiple interviews. Now, the fact that he's trimming back on these banks, I think is kind of painting a picture of what's to come. Now, granted, this was reported in December 31st, 2022, and make that clear. Right now it's March. It's not looking too good. And I think what we'll see, he hasn't touched Bank of America though. He hasn't touched that position just yet. But I'm wondering if this in this next Q1 report for 2023, if he's going to do that. Now, there's a video here that explains what's going on. I haven't really seen it, but let's take a look, you and I together. Let's see what's going on.
We had seen lenders, the biggest lenders, putting $30 billion in that lifeline to First Republic. And now what are we hearing about Warren Buffett perhaps investing in these banks?
Well, we do know that Warren Buffett is not only a well-respected investor, but he's been regarded as a savior of ailing banks in the past. And according to people familiar with the matter,
of course he's going to save the banks.
Calls between the billionaire and the Biden White House senior advisors in recent days, specifically about potentially investing in the U.S. regional banking sector. We also know that Buffett is...
He's potentially thinking about investing in this sector. There's more to see. There's more to come. However, I can't see him investing into these leveraged banks, man.
Banking crisis. Now, Buffett, back during the debt ceiling crisis in 2011, when Bank of America's stock was plunging, offered a lifeline, invested several billion in Bank of America in return for shares and options. He also tossed a $5 billion lifeline to Goldman Sachs back at the height of the financial crisis. And we do know that the Biden administration has favored these kind of private investments, as Sherry just mentioned, rather than using government spending to backstop the banks. Bloomberg has reported that Treasury Secretary...
Guys, I want to hear from you. What do you think is going to potentially happen with Warren Buffett getting involved with the U.S. government? I think, personally, it's going to be a huge domino effect of bank stocks going under. As we expressed, look, he sold off a bunch of his financial positions in these banks in late 2022. With the Q1 of 2023 about to be reported in late March, probably March 31st, I can only assume that it's a 50-50 chance that more securities will be sold off. And if Bank of America gets touched, essentially in the sense where they sell off some of their stock, and maybe Charlie Munger as well, I think we are in huge trouble. They love their bank stocks. So if they touch those ones that are pretty much the foundations of their portfolio, like just for an example, guys, Bank of America is 11% of Berkshire Hathaway's portfolio. That is a huge stake portfolio standpoint, as well as they have $33 billion sunk into that company. Now, if they reduce that position, and that's pretty much one of their defensive stocks, I can only assume the worst that's going to happen. Probably something very comparable to 2008. Only time will tell. I'm not too sure. The story will keep developing, but I will keep covering this and to try to give you guys the most updated thoughts and opinions. I think if this rolls out the way I think it's going to roll out, I think holding cash is the number one prerogative to do right now. I think that's the number one thing to do, is hold cash, because a lot of securities, a lot of companies are going to go south, and this might be the final push to send us into a catastrophic bear market. Now, for us value investors, that is great because we'll be able to pick up great companies at really low prices. However, I think things are going to potentially get ugly in the short term. Anyways, folks, that's the video. Hit that like button, subscribe button, and the bell to never miss a video from me. I'll see you in the next one.